Hello, fifth graders. So to review what we learned today in math, we were filling out a place value chart. So we had a number. Our number for this example is going to be 6.671. And so that number we would fill in by putting 6 ones in the ones place, 6 tenths in the tenths place, 7 in the hundredths place, and thousandths, a 1 in the thousandth place. And the first problem we're going to try is 6.671 times 10. And so we were using our place value chart to multiply by multiples of 10. So in this first example, we're multiplying by 10. Now what we learned today was that we could put 6 dots under the ones, 6 dots under the tenths, 7 dots in the hundredths, and 1 thousandths, 1 dot in the thousandths place. And then we would make columns by multiplying by 10, so we would have all these dots. That's what we were practicing. And then we learned there's a shortcut. So what we can do, instead of making all of the dots, we could just say 6 ones times 10 makes us shift over to the right the digit 6. 6 ones times 10 becomes 6 tenths. We take 6 tenths and we multiply that by 10. 6 tenths times 10 becomes 6. Put our decimal point. We go to the hundredths place. We have 7 hundredths. When we multiply 7 hundredths by 10, the 7 hundredths become 7 tenths. And when we multiply 1 thousandths by 10, that becomes 1 hundredth. And so we can look at our place value chart and we can solve 6.671 times 10 is now 66.71. Or 66 71 hundredths. And the next kind of problem we learned how to solve was that same number, but we're multiplying it by 100. So I would write down 6.671 times 100. We learned that 100 is the same thing as 10 times 10, or 10 tens. And so, since in this example we shifted 1 place value to the left, in this example we're going to shift 2. And so we would go back to our original number, and we would say, okay, we have 6 ones. Well, 6 ones times 100 is going to give us 6 hundredths. So we're going to draw an arrow over 2 place values and write our digit. Our digit moves. So 6 ones times 100 is 6 hundredths. And 6 tenths times 100 is 6 tens. And 7 hundredths times 100, we go over 2 place values, is 7 ones. We have our decimal point. 1 thousandths times 100 is 1 tenth. And so solving this problem, 6.671 times 100, we have the answer 667.1. And then we learned that you can do the same thing when you multiply by 1,000. So this time, our equation is 6.671 times 1,000. 1,000 is the same as 10 hundredths, which was the same as 10 times 10. So 1,000 is 10 times 10 times 10, or 3 place values. So when we multiply this, we go back to our original number. We have 6 ones. 6 ones times 1,000 means we're going to go over 3 place values to get 6,000. 6 ones times 1,000 is 6,000. Then we do the same thing for the next place value. There's a 6, the digit 6 in the tenths place. 6 times 1,000, 6 times 1,000 will give us 6 hundredths, 6 tenths. 6 tenths times 1,000 gives us 6 in the hundredths place. Go to our hundredths place. We have a 7. 7/100ths times 1,000 is going to give us 7/10. 7/100ths times 1,000 is 7/10. We go to our thousandths place. We have a digit 1. 1 times 1,000 will give us 1. 1,000th times 1,000 moves over 3 place values, and we get a 1 in the ones column. So 6.671 times 1,000 equals 6,671. 6.671 times 1,000 equals 6,671. We also learned how to divide. So when we were multiplying, our numbers were getting bigger. 6 times 10 is 6/10s. 6 ones times 100 is 600s. 6 ones times 1,000 is 6,000. We were moving towards the digits were moving towards the left because they were getting bigger. When we divide, it's the opposite. And so when we divide, we can take our place value chart and we can try another problem. Let's try 684. So we start with 684. 600ths, 8 10s, 4 1s. And this time we're going to divide by 10. 684 divided by 10. 684 divided by 10. When we divide by 10, we move to the right. So in class, we practiced, we would put 6 dots, then we would put 6 times, or we would decompose it to make 10s, then we would divide it by 10, and we could do all these dots in our model, but we learned a shortcut. And we said 600ths divided by 10 gives us 6/10s. And we learned 8 10s divided by 10 gives us 8 1s. 4 1s divided by 10 gives us 4/10ths. And so when we solve this problem, 684 divided by 10, we end up with 6/10s, 8 1s, and 4/10ths. 68 and 4/10ths. So 684 divided by 10 is 68 and 4/10ths. We also learned how to divide it by 100. So we have 684 divided by 100. We learned that 100 is 10 times 10. So we're going to be shifting to the left 2 place values, or 2 10s. So 10 times 10. So we start at the 600ths divided by 100. We move over 2 place values. 600ths divided by 100 is 6 1s. And 8 10s divided by 100, we move over 10 by 10, gives us 8 10ths. 4 1s divided by 100 will give us 4 100ths. So 684 divided by 100 is 6 and 84 hundredths, or 6.84. 684 divided by 100, all of our digits are shifting by 2 place values. We end up with 6 and 84 hundredths. Then we learned how to divide by 1,000. 684 divided by 1,000. 1,000 is 10 hundredths, which is 10 10s. So 1,000 is 10 times 10 times 10. We're going to be shifting 3 place values. 684 divided by 1,000. So we have 600ths. When we divide 600ths by 1,000, we go over 1, 2, 3 place values. And our 600ths divided by 1,000 is 6 tenths. 8 tenths, we go over 1, 2, 3 place values. 8 tenths divided by 1,000 is 8 hundredths. 4 ones divided by 1,000 is 4 thousandths. And so 684 divided by 1,000 is going to give us, we write a 0.684 or 684 thousandths. Our digits shifted 3 place values because we have 1,000, which is 10 times 10 times 10, 3 place values, and so we end up with 684 thousandths. And that is what we learned today about how we can multiply and divide by 10, 100, and 1,000 using our place value chart to identify these different patterns. And I hope this helps you with your homework today.